Hello and welcome to the second part in a series of tutorials where we will be creating our very own text editor. In the end of the last part, we had something that looks a bit like this, where we had 4 buttons created and our text box done with a sort of turquoisey background. By the end of this part, we'll have something that looks a bit like this, where our 4 buttons are put together into a frame with a label to help us know what these buttons do. Our text box remains the same. However, we've also had an extra functionality whereby when you click on the button, it will highlight yellow, and also not only will the button bolden, for example, when you click on B, but it will also unbolden. It will reverse that tag which you can also add. This will be the same for the underline and for the italicize. So let's get started. So let's start with putting our buttons into one frame, having them close together. So if we go down to where we've added the buttons, we're going to create a frame. So we type in tkr.frame with a capital F, then in brackets type in screen, and we give that the variable frame text box 1. The next thing we need to do now is, instead of having the buttons linked to the screen, we're going to have the buttons into the frame instead. So what we need to do now is replace screen with the name of the new frame, which is frame text box 1. So let's do that. We can just replace screen with frame, because this will now position them within the frame instead of within the screen. Cool. And now we need to put our frame into our screen. So we can type in frame textbox1.grid, then we can lay it out into the grid by typing in row equals 0, column equals 0 as well. And then if we run it, we will have our buttons all put together within the frame here, like so. Cool. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a label on top of these buttons within the frame, so we can help us to understand further what they do without having to explain it. And this text is just going to simply read font. So exactly the same as the frame, we're going to create a label instead. So if you type in tkr.label with capital L, in brackets type in frame text box 1, because this label is going to go into the frame rather than into the main screen. And then type in comma, text equals, and then this is where we add whatever text we want. And in this case, it's font with a capital F, and I've given that the variable label 1. And then quite simply, we just add it again by typing in grid. In this case, it's going to be row equals 0, and it's going to span the entire top of this frame. So column span is 4, going across all of the buttons. Then we run it again. We can see here that we will have font appearing on the top. Very nice. The next thing we can do now is we're going to add it so that when you click on the button, it will highlight yellow. We can do that by including active background, and I've put active background equals, and then in quotation marks I've put yellow, and I've done this for all 4 buttons: bold, underline, italicize and normalize. And so if we run it again, I can show this to you. So if we type in, say, hello, and then we click on bold and hold it, you can see that it will highlight yellow. Do the same for underline, same for italicize, and the same for normalize as well. It will highlight yellow, and it helps to know that that button has been clicked. Added functionality. So now what we can do is we can create it so that the button not only adds the tag, but removes the tag as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to modify each of the functions that we created last time to have an if statement in them. And the if statement is going to read, basically, if this tag is here, then remove it. If not, then add it. So what we need to do first is we need to get a list of the current tags that are in our selection. So if we type in textbox1.tag_names, then in brackets and quotation marks type in cell.first, that will list the current tags that we have in our selection. The next thing we can do is create an if statement. So if we type in if, and then BT in quotation marks for bold, because this is what we're doing with the bold function, then type in if BT in current underscore tags, calling our current tag list. If its tag is in there, then we're going to type in textbox1.tag underscore remove. And then in brackets of tag underscore remove, we're going to type in bt, tkr.cell first, tkr.cell last. Exactly the same as we did last time for creating and adding the task. And then below that, we're going to type in else and then colon, and then we're going to have the rest of our function that we had last time. And what this statement says is if bold is in our current tags, then we're going to remove it. If not, then we're going to add it and then configure it slightly. And what we can do is exactly the same, but with underline. And then exactly the same, but with italicize as well. And then what we can do is we can check this to see if it works by running it. And so let's type in hello again, or analystrising this time. And then what we can do, highlight it, and we can check the boldness. So yeah, it's gone bold, and we type it again, and it has removed it. Same with underline there with the line, removed it. Italicize, yeah, and then it has now removed the italicize as well. So that's the end of this tutorial and this part. In the next part, we'll be having it so that we can change the font size and the font styles as well. So I'll see you in the next tutorial.